At some point, you start describing yourself with one word that sounds simple but feels heavy. You say you are lazy because tasks stay unfinished, energy disappears too fast, and even basic things begin to feel harder than they should. This label feels logical because the outside world keeps repeating it. If you are not moving, if you are not producing, if you are not pushing forward, then something must be wrong with you. Laziness becomes the easiest explanation because it turns a complex situation into a personal flaw. But when you look closer, the picture changes. Modern life places the human brain under a level of cognitive pressure it was never designed to carry for long. Every day is filled with micro-decisions that look harmless on their own, but together they consume a large amount of mental energy. Notifications demand attention, messages wait for answers, choices pile up, and unfinished tasks remain open in the background of the mind. The brain does not experience this as productivity. It experiences it as constant load. Research on cognitive load shows that working memory has a very limited capacity. When that capacity is exceeded, the brain does not push harder. It shuts down functions that are not immediately necessary for survival. One of the first systems to suffer is the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for planning, impulse control, and voluntary action. From the outside, this looks like laziness. From the inside, it feels like paralysis. The situation becomes worse in an environment where attention is constantly fragmented. Over the last 2 decades, the average amount of time people can stay focused on a single screen has dropped dramatically. This did not happen because people lost discipline. It happened because the environment trains constant task switching, and task switching drains mental resources faster than sustained work. Every switch forces the brain to reconfigure, and that reconfiguration consumes glucose and energy. By the time a person tries to focus on something important, the system is already depleted. The desire may still be there, but the capacity to act is not. This is where the confusion starts. A person wants to work, wants to move forward, and wants to change something, but the body resists. Not loudly, not emotionally, but quietly. The brain begins to choose simple actions with immediate reward because complex tasks require energy that is no longer available. This behavior is often interpreted as procrastination or laziness, but biologically it is closer to damage control. Some researchers describe this as executive dysfunction, a state where the connection between intention and action becomes unstable under stress or overload. The person does not avoid the task because it is meaningless. They avoid it because their system cannot support the effort required to begin. There is also a cultural layer that makes this harder to see. Modern productivity culture treats rest as a reward and exhaustion as a moral failure. People are taught to ignore signals of depletion and push through them, even when those signals exist, to prevent deeper breakdown. When rest is postponed long enough, the brain enforces it through shutdown, distraction, and resistance. At that point, calling the result laziness becomes inaccurate. What is labeled as laziness is often a nervous system that has been running in emergency mode for too long. It is a brain protecting itself from further overload by reducing output, narrowing focus, and avoiding high-cost actions. This is why people often feel guilty during these periods, because they still care. They still want to act. They still imagine themselves functioning differently. The gap between intention and ability creates shame, even though the underlying issue is not character, but capacity. In that sense, laziness is not the cause of stagnation. It is the visible symptom of a system that has reached its limit. When this is ignored, people try to fix themselves with pressure, discipline, and self-criticism. When that fails, the belief of being lazy becomes even stronger, locking them into a loop where effort feels impossible and rest feels undeserved. What becomes clear through observation is simple but uncomfortable. A system that is overloaded will eventually slow itself down, no matter how strong the intention is. The slowdown is not a defect, it is a signal. So the real question is not why you are lazy. Better ask yourself how overloaded your life has become and how long your system has been expected to function without relief.